Alright, hello StarCraft fans. This is Billzabob. Just showing you a little quick clip here to prove my merit overall. I don't play a lot of ranked, so you can't just look at my account and be like, oh yeah, that's great. I mean, granted I do have decent stats, but point being is that I'm fighting a master here. I win, get victory of course, and in the time being I'd just like to talk to you about hotkeys. So one of the main things I want everybody to try to think about is a grid pattern on their keyboard. You don't have to, of course, and lots of people have different styles. I mean, there's always that talk about using like F keys and everything else. But those aside, if you just want to amp your game up, I mean, setting hotkeys to your build order or just to kind of be able to get the specific keys that are very common all the time during moments of pressure. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and zip forward here a little bit. And he ended up rushing me. This was a pretty quick game. Nothing big really happened. And during this time, I'd like to just take a moment to say Razer products are awesome. I play with a Razer Nostromo and a Razer Naga, both of which are about 6 years old. Now, the macro and key changeability in those are excellent. I mean, you can customize every button, switch it. You can, create macros to amp your APM up to, 6,000 just by making the right click with no time in between clicks. And it's, abuse APM if you really, really want to, but there's no point. I don't spam APM, but you know, it, it does kind of matter to have at least a good back and forth ability. So on top of that, just the software is easy to work with too with Razer. And now here is just the ending. This is pretty much where we're gonna leave off. I chase him a ton. He comes after me. And the whole time while this is happening, most of my focus is kind of off my base. I use hotkeys to click all my buildings, select larva. I often, before I leave my base, I will hotkey a specific larva, and that way it's easier to get to. It's my boy. He's an awesome little lad. All right, now to show you my hotkeys, I want to give you a little overlook here with WASD. So I use AWD for just about everything that is most commonly built and you see the most of. So SCV, building main buildings, A, building advanced buildings, W, and within the basic structures we got command center, Q. I mean, you build them often. Q's a quick button, nice to get to. Then refinery right on W, you can do it quick. It's easy to kind of hold shift so you can get multiple down. Well as barracks on A. Engineering bay, you only build one or two often. It's not something you generally do in the heat of battle. You're more likely to put down two or three barracks while you're trying to micro your army out there, which is another reason why I have barracks on A. D, supply depots, that's another thing you might have to flash back and make really quick. So AWD are kind of my main go-to, and then things like S, E, Q are kind of like off buildings that you build commonly, but obviously you don't need to get to. Now, I'm not saying you need to do the AWD. I'm just very, very comfortable with WASDing myself all the time. This is a 3x3 grid from Q to E, A to D, Z to C that really helped me function a lot better. And because I'm using a gamepad, I can actually set a couple other keys differently. So like tab and escape, which are on the gamepad, are not tab and escape. They serve different purposes, as well as my left on the joystick and my down on the joystick. They serve different purposes. So moving on to units, I'm going to skip these guys because A is for Stim Pack. And over here I got a little more options, and as you see, ER for hold fire, weapons free, next to each other, off my fingers. I don't have to really worry about accidentally hitting those. Don't have to worry about accidentally dropping a nuke on myself. Don't have to worry about going too far when I need to quickly steady target a unit and or EMP or cloak to get out of there. F I put on the side for decloak so I wouldn't accidentally hit it. Going down the line, from Hellion over, I got AD, DA, but I mean AD, it's the point is for siege to go mode, and that was my whole goal, just AD, medvac. I mean S, I don't really use the heal, I just tell it to attack, and it generally, you know, I mean, if you just tell the medvacs to attack a unit, they follow that specific unit forever until that unit dies. And going on so forth, Liberators as well as Ravens, everything like I said again, AWD. Cloak though has to be the same, so that was DF. And same with Battlecruiser. When we move on to buildings, same schematic, A for the SCVs, WD. And when you get into it, I drop supplies down, I do scanner sweeps with D, call down mules with W, make SCVs with A. All buttons that I hardly have to go anywhere for. Now when I got the barracks, I end up using a little bit more into Z and X. And this is just to kind of grid it out the way, and when I build those options, I don't want to kind of accidentally, normally when I commit down to that bottom row, I already know what I'm going to build. So there's really no accidental, oops, you know, I didn't mean to push that button because it was right on A. And I stuck with just having the units on the WASD. And this of course goes the same for upgrades. Upgrades, I have the two easiest ones there, and then the more likely one to upgrade the structures. After that, I can kind of choose the rest if I want to or need to. Now I do main Zerg, as you had seen in the beginning video, but this is my setup between everybody. Now if I'm Zerg, I tend to put all my hatcheries on 6, same with Terran, all my command centers on 6, and this is of course because my Naga on the side, it's kind of the main building and I can easily get to that button, and I don't have to go to them that much. Granted, your hatcheries you kind of do, but the hatcheries I set the queens per hatchery. I set 5, 4, and 1 for my hatcheries with my queens. So then I have my first one, my first queen comes out, I switch it from 5, I switch the hatchery from 5 to the queen to being 5. And then 4, the queen is generally out just around the same time as the first. I make that queen 4. Then the third base has the third queen being 1. All extra queens I generally either have on 2 or 3, depending on whether or not I'm forced to. If I have to build extra queens for defense because they're pressing me, then I will put them on 2 and I'll use upgrades on 3. And I will go back and forth and change these hotkeys on a regular basis. With that being said, with Zerg, just to take a quick look, I mean, I've gridded out all the units. I just have everything set to my most common. I mean, Hydralisks, Roaches, Lings, Overlords, Drones. After that, like I said, once you start committing beyond that, you already had your build down. You already knew what you were doing. And this goes the same as with the buildings. Just having everything in a fairly close setup so you don't have to move your fingers very far. And if you're using a keyboard, you can use the grid that they give you. It's not bad, but it does Q through T, A through G, and it doesn't really give you a lot of options. Alright, aside from that, I guess I'll just leave you with always split your army on 1 and 2. Or, I mean, you can pick any key, you can even change it to RF, TG, whatever. I mean, just be able to split your army at any time. And they don't have to be like perfectly this unit and that unit, you know. Just get used to really having 2 hotkeys so you can split. And then after that, you can start boxing sections of guys and telling them to single target as they're coming in with the concave. So, I like gestures. And aside from gestures, that was pretty much what I'm going to leave you with then. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Love StarCraft 2. if you have, I guess, any thoughts and or questions, I mean, feel free to post and do whatever you'd like. It's YouTube, so people can express their opinion. Once again, I don't have a ton of merit, but if you want, I mean, I enjoy friends and people on my friends list. So Bill's Bob 1680, Blizzard. Take care, all.